So hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Lean Business Agility. Today from London with a guest, Marc Burgauer. Hi Marc.
Hi Klaus.
Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with me here and having a short chat about your talk at this conference. So you need to know we are at the London Lean Campaign Days here in London. That's the reason why it's called London Lean Campaign Days. And you had a talk about Maslow's take on management, right?
Yes, I did.
So what is it about?
So you might know Maslow from the hierarchy of needs. So Maslow was very concerned about needs. So he looked at work as a social practice, things we're doing mainly for social reasons. And he wanted to understand how we could influence a workplace to become psychologically more a healthy place, so we would enjoy work more rather than seeing it as a chore. So he had that concept of eupsychian ethics. Eupsychian means eu is good, maybe the word from euphoria, and psychian means mind or soul. So he had developed this ethics about how we could move society towards a more healthy mind or soul. And he was asked to come and help advise a company on management. And so he wrote a book about his experience with management. He was talking at the same time to learn more about management with the experts in the field as he saw it, which were Peter Drucker and McGregor. And so that was his starting point, was theory X versus theory Y, or Drucker's take on you manage teams, not people, you manage the work rather than individuals. So he went in with this assumption into consulting on management. He wrote a book which is mostly just a diary, so it captures basically how he interacted with managers and people on the ground in the companies he was working with and what insights he had, but the result is what he called eupsychian management. The core aspect of eupsychian management is that we need to exhibit certain behaviors as managers in order to get people who work for us to respond in a way we really want. So let's for example, say trust. We want people to trust us as managers. Now, the only way that you're going to achieve that is by actually trusting them first. What Maslow observed was that we're moving from an industrial concept of work to a knowledge management of work, so he picked that up from Drucker, and that the rules of the games have entirely changed. In an industrial setting, usually could assume that the manager had expertise in the job of all his subordinates, often to the extent that he also will be the mentor. In knowledge management, we hire people precisely for skills that as manager we lack, and hence we can't tell them what to do. We have to motivate them to be collaborative with us, which means we have to make them comfortable. And that means we have to trust them. Drucker articulated this later in reference to Maslow as we have to do marketing as managers to our team. We have to convince them, persuade them of the purpose of our team so that we invite their honest and complete collaboration. And so you see the beginnings of the concept of servant leadership there, where the manager literally is an enabler rather than a mentor or guide.
So when did Maslow wrote this book? So it was 70 years ago or so?
Yeah, it was early 60s, in the early 60s. So it was shortly after McGregor published his book about theory X, theory Y. Okay. It was after Drucker's practice of management, but it was before either of them started actually to write very specifically about certain things of management. Okay, so 70 years. What relevance does it have for us today? So like many things, insights, and we learn this in IT all the time, it takes, so when I started in IT, and that was in the 80s, already I was told, it takes about 40, 50 years for a good IT idea until it becomes a commodity. So you can look at Wordly maps and look at some of the technologies and you will see Even cloud as an idea was already around as soon as networks appeared, but it took that long for us to actually start to make this something we all can use. And I think with social ideas, it takes even longer. So when I read Maslow's book, to me it still reads like science fiction, as wouldn't it be nice if we're already mature enough to implement all these ideas. But as we start to make progress on how we treat work as a social place, and I think lean and agile concepts have helped with that a lot, maybe some of these ideas become a bit more palatable to executives to consider. And so, yes, I think it's very relevant, and I think they're very practical things in Maslow's concept of management that we can take away.
Okay, so what is a concrete takeaway? So our viewers, what can they do starting tomorrow?
So one of the things that springs out when you read Maslow is that he turns around the management mantra of how do I get my people to say yes to make it easy to people to say no to you. Why should you make it easy for people to say no to you? Well, as a manager in a knowledge work environment, as I already pointed out, you're no longer the expert of all the skills in your team. So when you come and present your plans to the team, you want the team as quickly as possible to tell you where you're wrong. You don't want to wait until actually the plan is failing. You want them to point out anything that possibly could go wrong early. So you have to make it easy to say no. That also means you will have to accept that they say no to things that you're not convinced they should be saying no about. You have to invite, you have to be tolerant, and you have to be patient. So make it easy for people to say no to you. Also, if you do that, in my experience, that is a very good way of actually getting people to trust you. So if they see they can be critical of your ideas, etc., they will really start to collaborate with you. The second takeaway I give people is when you start with somebody in your team, so they're new to your team, you're new as manager to them, don't try to explain to them what your style is or whatever. The first thing you should ask them is how you can help them to do their job better. Very simple question, but that is your job as a manager, is to enable your knowledge worker. Drucker expresses the job of management is to enable performance of the people that work for us. So the best way to do that is go and ask them, because they're the experts in the skill that you hire them for. So they will actually have good ideas what's not working for them and give you pointers what you should be doing as a manager.
That sounds great. I like it. Try to say no. No. How did you phrase it?
Make it easy for people to say no to you.
Yes.
And ask them how you can help them to do their job better.
That sounds like a very concrete takeaway. So, let's do it, right? Starting from tomorrow. No, starting from now. Okay. Marc, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and now let's walk around Big Ben or something like this.
Like last year.
Like last year, exactly. Okay. Thanks, Marc, and goodbye.
Bye.